Hi everyone, my name is Rebecca and today I'm going to be showing you how to make this book sleeve. I love reading and I always want to have a book with me, and it gets very annoying when I have a paperback book and I put it in my bag and I pull it out to read it and it's been destroyed because it's just in my bag with all of my other stuff. So I made this book sleeve so that I can keep that from happening. I also made it big enough so that you can keep 2 books in it, because if you're also like me, you start a series and then you have to move on to the next one automatically. So it's nice to be able to keep 2 books with you. So with this book sleeve, I'm going to show you how to make this nice bottom. I'm also going to show you how to put a zipper in really easily. So let's get started. Okay, so here's what you're going to need. You're going to need 4 pieces of fabric. You can have 2 different ones. One will be your lining, one will be on the outside of your bag. I'm going to use the purple for the outside and the blue for the inside. You're going to need batting, which I've already put between my 2 pieces of fabric, a zipper for the end, and then I have already put my fabric onto my batting using the 505 temporary adhesive spray. So this means that when I go to quilt it, I won't have to pin it or anything. It'll just hold it in place while I'm sewing it. Okay, so since I have a flowery fabric, I'm gonna do a flower design when I'm quilting. So the way I like to do it is I'll do a loop and then I'll come around, loop, reverse my loop, swirl in, and then do 4 loops in a row. And then you can do a couple more random loops and then keep going however you want to do it. It usually takes me a couple flowers in when I'm doing it on the machine to actually get them to look good. As you can see, when I was even drawing it, the first one didn't really look great. So to start with my quilting, for this one I'm doing a purple thread for the top and then a blue thread on the bottom. So I'm going to first make sure that I have the purple fabric on top and the blue fabric on the bottom, because the first time I made this I did mess that up. Then I'm going to make sure my foot is down. It doesn't, look like much moved, so just make sure that you are checking that. Then I'm going to take my needle up and down and get my thread underneath my foot so that I can start. And I want to put my foot down again because I'm so used to it. And then now I can go ahead and start. And so I'm just going to, the way I kind of do it is I work kind of up and down the fabric. It can be a little hard when you're on the sides to do it because there's not much to hold on to. So I now have quilted both pieces, and so now I need to cut them down. And the reason that we start off with them bigger and cut them down is because of here, right, exactly. So we started out with it 15, and as you can see, we've shrunk down about a 1/2 inch. So there's a reason we start off big and then cut down. So now I'm going to cut it down to 10 by 13. So I'll start with this side. So there's 13, and now For this one, I'm going to take off a little bit on each side. So now we have to put the zipper in. So I'm going to do that before I sew any of the sides up. So I'm going to start by lining up my zipper at the top of my bag. And I'm going to put the zipper right sides together with my right side of my fabric, because it's going to open up like this and we're going to top stitch it. So the front of my zipper goes to the front, and then I'm just going to pin it. And I'm not worrying about lining it up. I'm just making sure that I have some on each side, because we'll cut that off later. So now I have to sew my zipper on. So I'm going to be using the zipper foot. And you can see it has two sides that you can actually put it on. I'm going to be using this side over here to the left. And the way I figure that out is when I go to sew, I'm looking at where my zipper is going to line up. And so since it's lining up on the left side, I'm making sure that I have the zipper foot over to the left. And then I'm also making sure with my needle and using my hand wheel that I'm not going to hit my zipper foot accidentally, or I'm not going to hit my zipper. And I can move my needle if I need to. So now I'm just going to move to the front, and then I'm just going to sew all the way down with a straight stitch. Okay, so now I have my zipper sewn in, and I went ahead and ironed over so that I can top stitch. And I like to pin just to make sure that my fabric stays where I want it. And so I'm going to pin into the direction that I'm sewing, so it's easier for me to take the pins out. So I'm just going to put my pins in going up like this. And this just makes sure that after ironing it, it doesn't move when I try and sew it. And now I just need to sew it down. So now it is top stitched down. Okay, so now I need to put my other side on. So I'm going to put my sides with right sides together. And I line up both my sides with my zipper, so I make sure that I am even and I don't have one side over here when I go to sew them together. And then I do just like I did with the other side, and I go ahead and pin. Okay, so now I'm going to do the same thing I did on the other side and use my zipper foot and just sew straight down. So now I top stitched both sides of my zipper, and I need to cut out my corners so that I can make my bag have a little definition on the bottom. So I'm laying my pieces on top of each other, and I'm going to use my ruler and trace out little squares and then cut them out. So I'm going to put my ruler here, and I'm going to do 1 inch up from the bottom and then 1 1/4 over from the side. I'm going to use my fabric pen, and I'm going to draw a little box so that I know where to cut, and then the same on this side. I have 1 inch from the bottom and then 1 1/4 over. And then I'll make sure my corners are equally together and use my scissors. There's one side. And now I'm ready to sew everything together. So now I'm going to sew up my sides and my bottom. Before I do that, I want to make sure that I have my zipper open so that when I sew up everything, I'm still able to get into my bag. So I usually open it about halfway. So I'm going to start with my bottom, and I'm just going to line up the bottom and go for it. Okay, so I'm just going to sew with 1/4 inch on all of my sides. So for the top on the side where it's open from the zipper, I am going to pin it just to make sure that that stays in place the way it needs to. And then I'm going to sew down the sides. So then for the final part, I'm going to open up my bottom like that. It got a little off there, so I'll show you on this side. I'm going to line it up and then put my pins in it to hold it. And then I just go along that side with 1/4 inch seam, and I'll go along it probably twice just to make sure that it is nice and secure. So finally, you can turn it inside out and cut the tags off your zipper. So last thing we need to do is just cut off the little extra bits for our zippers. So I'm just going to cut it in line with the side. And I'm using paper scissors so that I don't destroy any good fabric scissors. There's one. And there's the two, and I got some of the extra strings as well. Now I'm going to turn it inside out. Push out my corners. And then I can flip it in. And it's done. I hope you guys enjoy learning how to make this fun book sleeve with me. It's really easy and it gives you guys some basics like putting in a zipper. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Also subscribe if you haven't already. Follow us at QuiltNCode on Facebook and Instagram so you can keep in touch with what all we're doing. I am going to go and read a book, so I hope you have a good rest of your day.